Want to call this meeting of the AlexRenew Board of Directors Governance Committee meeting in order. Did we review the agenda? Let's see if there's any comments on that.
Agenda looks good to me, as discussed. I will move to approve it.
A second, all in favor?
Aye.
Ms. Huff, do we have any members of the public here? The consent agenda, we got the minutes from the April 7th meeting. If we could review those.
I will move to approve the minutes.
A second, all in favor?
Aye.
The unfinished business, we got the updates for the board communication policy.
Before we jump into policy update, take a few steps back and provide a little background just because it's been a little while. So in October of 2024, the board performed a self-assessment, came up with some major themes to walk away with, and some of those involved communications and outreach to the community. That generated some discussion around AlexRenew's communication strategy, and then also how the board supports that strategy. So if you all recall, in January, we gave a presentation that kind of walked through our general communication strategy, and then offered sort of a draft matrix of board responsibilities around communications and outreach. After that discussion, we talked about kind of revisiting this and circling back, reviewing the communications policy itself so that it matched up with the new board composition, and also what we have changed internally as an organization, and kind of refresh that so that it jives more with how we're operating today. And then we also wanted to provide an update to the draft matrix for feedback. Okay, so starting off, we're just going to walk through what's new, been updated in the board communications policy itself. So starting off, we've board communications principles to include inclusiveness, shared vision, trust, transparency, and clarity. So here, I'm going to cheat and read off my paper so I don't have to read off the screen. So inclusiveness is to create an environment where all members are comfortable contributing, participating, and ensuring every voice is valued. Shared vision is while the board may promote a diversity of views in its internal discussions, it shall strive to communicate externally as a unified body. Trust, build meaningful connections through open and constructive dialogue. Transparency, share appropriate information to provide context and build understanding around decisions. And clarity, communicate information clearly and concisely, tailoring communications to the specific needs and knowledge of the audience. So that's kind of the principles in a nutshell that drive the policy. The next section talks about internal communications, and it provides additional detail around what drives the internal communications policy. So that would be Virginia FOIA, public notice of meetings, properly describing closed session items in the agenda, allowing proper public comment, ensuring meeting agenda materials are properly made available to the public, board requirements, email etiquette, and email etiquette. And then as far as staff communications, those direct questions and feedback to the CEO. So that's just updated. The internal communication section is new entirely. Walking through the next section, which is external communications. We talk about who can serve as a spokesperson. That's typically the CEO or the board chair. Other board members as approved by the board chair as well. And then media, this section was updated. So this is media inquiries are managed by the CEO. Board members are encouraged to use talking points that are provided by AlexRenew. Board members notify the CEO and board chair about media inquiries and coordinate a response. And then op-eds by board members are encouraged. Social media, this section was also updated. Now board members are encouraged to promote posts. That's sharing anything AlexRenew posts potentially. Board members are public officers, so, through that lens, use personal social media platforms responsibly. And then avoid using personal social media platforms to discuss any official AlexRenew.
Just some context, when we went back through, we revisit policies from time to time, but we had updated this back in probably April of 2024. And, we went back through it and read it, kind of harsh.
Yeah.
It was a little abrasive, so we tried to soften it significantly.
Yeah.
And, there was something in there about staff, board members not being able to talk to staff. We've kind of lost that. Really media's, if the board gets a media inquiry, let us know, but, we'll give you talk points if you need to talk through it, but it doesn't need to necessarily be the official spokesperson talking to media if the question comes to you. And then social media, we felt that some of those didn't meet, some constitutional rights to delete some of those sections.
There may have been mild violations of freedom of speech.
Yeah, it was like, don't have opinions on anything.
Yeah, it was pretty hard.
I was
so-
violating that one left and right. Yeah,
Yeah, no, this is much better. It is much better.
it is. It's very clear.
It's right.
Yeah, I think that's a fair point, though. It is softer. I don't know that you would read this without the context.
And, it's a communications policy and it lacked any principles or internal communications that the board would have between themselves. So we tried to make sure that was captured in here as well. So that was Mr. Robertson mentioned that's a big update.
And I think to your point about the legal pieces, some of it probably should have deferred to the ethics policy as opposed to the communications policy. So the way it's written is now, you would refer to that as opposed to this necessarily. But the internal and external communications, this is basically just a breakdown of best practices versus things to avoid. So again, sorry to read off the slide, but best practices, use CEO approved talking points and materials, things that we provide to you. Share AlexRenew's mission, vision, and strategic goals with the public. Capture questions from the public and direct them to the CEO in a timely manner. I think all three of those help us stay unified in our voice, if we're talking to any external audience.
These best practices came from what you all are doing.
Yeah. Keep confidential information confidential, be factual. Use we, not I, when speaking from the perspective of the board. Be respectful, active listening, and invite feedback from community members. Don't talk at them, listen to them. Celebrate wins, support transparency, and build trust. And then avoid making unilateral comments on behalf of AlexRenew, making public comments that do not align with our strategic plan, attempting to solve customer issues and complaints on your own. Please direct those towards me. I'll be happy to manage those ones. Sharing confidential information, speculating, oversharing, and misstatements, sharing personal opinions when representing AlexRenew in public forums, arguing or talking over members of the public, or oversharing or making premature statements. So pretty much all of these best practices help us kind of stay together, unified in our approach. Before we look at the matrix, we wanted to take a quick moment to kind of revisit a few slides from January, the communications strategy presentation. So if you'll recall, affinity groups are essentially stakeholders grouped by how we communicate to them. So this is sort of a broad way of looking at it. We're going to drill down a little bit in the matrix itself, but to simplify things, it's easier to group them how we communicate. So you have customers, that's homeowners and business owners that receive an AlexRenew bill, essentially. Internal stakeholders are staff, board members, contractors, people that work with or at AlexRenew. Community members are folks that live in Alexandria, but do not necessarily receive a bill from us directly. So that we're including tenants, commuting employees, civic associations, and HOAs, folks that are essentially served or represent folks that are served by us. Government and regulatory officials. These are city council, general assembly, elected leaders, interjurisdictional partners, elected officials and government officers, essentially. We group those all together because we tend to have the same communication strategies around them. They often have different messages sent to them. Nonprofit and NGOs, Potomac River Keepers, CBF, MWCOG, Chamber, Alive, faith-based community organizations, things like that. And then news media, we kept separate because we communicate them with a completely different way than every other affinity group. And then just to revisit sort of the outreach channels that we have, again, in a super broad sense, we'll drill down in this a little bit in the matrix as well. Events, though, as you know, AlexRenew holds quite a few outreach events, we attend community meetings, we hold construction events, we present to different community groups, facilities. So another way that we connect with the community is through our educational lobby, industry tours, meeting space, and Limerick Field. And then some of our more traditional channels here are print. So we have flyers, signage, door hangers, promotional items, media pickups, bill inserts, letter campaigns under mail. And then finally, digital, again, simplified, but we have several websites, including AlexRenew.com, RiverRenew.com, and our customer portal. And then we have emails, digital signage, social media, and text messaging. So that's an oversimplification, but just to create some context before we jump into matrix. Here's the matrix. Yeah, it's pretty hard to read off the screen.
If it's hard to read the screen too, there's a copy in the policy,
Yeah.
the attachment one to the policy. If it's hard to read this paper too. Black and white. This definitely does not meet ADA requirements.
No,
Which is something we are,
but it is pretty.
yeah, it looks nice.
And that matters.
So the beautification commission will give you an order.
for our outreach responsibilities matrix. So just kind of walking through each category here, we have, this is the communications channel. Then we have grouped stakeholders, listening topics, and communication topics together, so it's easy to read. And then we have the board responsibility at the end. So if we kind of start on the internal communications channel here and go line by line, these are again sort of the recommended responsibilities here. We have at city council meetings, the stakeholders that you're likely to interact with there are government officials. The listening topics would include everything we have listed here. So that's environment, rates, affordability, politics, and reputation. Communication topics, that's something we probably wouldn't discuss necessarily at a city council meeting. So we've left those blank here. And then under board responsibility, we wrote attend based on board preference and agenda topics. So that kind of leaves it up to you all when at your discretion. For homeowners, civic associations, and commission meetings, the stakeholders you'd likely interact with there are customer and community members. The listening topics would include environment, rates, affordability, reputation, and then the things you're likely to talk about at those meetings would be major initiatives, budget rates, programs and policies, AlexRenew events, and board-related items. So what we have here under the responsibility portion is that we recommend you attend meetings based on board preference or those related to AlexRenew official business, and attend Alexandria Federation of Civic Associations meeting monthly, and that would go to the board chair, which he already does. So we're not necessarily asking more of you. You're already doing. We appreciate it.
Welcome to join.
Under community events, you'd likely see customers, community members, sometimes government officials, and also we have nonprofit representation sometimes at those community events. The listening topics would likely include all of these topics except for politics. We don't typically hear those at community events, although you never know. And then communications topics, things that you would likely talk about at those events would be major initiatives, AlexRenew events, and board-related items. So under the board responsibility for this one, it would be volunteer to support the LM Pickering Award, again, which you all have done a fabulous job of doing over the last few years. And then participate in STEM events managed by AlexRenew staff. So we're kind of increasing the number of STEM events that we do each year. That's an area where I think we could use some support if you're able. Under business community events, so these are those community events that are more focused on businesses, essentially. You likely see customers, especially commercial customers, community members, government officials, and nonprofits. And then under listening topics, you could hear anything at those topics, essentially environment, rates, affordability, politics, or reputation. Communication topics, this is an area where we would probably recommend you don't necessarily chime in. And then under board responsibilities, we put attend city manager breakfast annually and attend one chamber ALX event based on board preference annually. So under AlexRenew events, these are the events that we host here, like open house, for instance. Stakeholders are customers, community members, government officials, nonprofits, and staff. Listening topics include environment, rates, and reputation, and then communication topics could include nearly everything. Major initiatives, budgets and rates, programs and policies, and board-related items. So the ask here is to attend and participate when possible, and then for the board chair to MC, which again, he did a great job at House Run Day, as an example.
You're on the agenda for the 18th.
Yes, we've also,
8 o'clock. I'll be there.
7:50.
Can we talk about
Oh my God.
you may have been thrown under the bus, yeah.
Should I just not go to sleep the night before?
No.
Like,
We tried to accommodate council right before the city council session. We're gonna have, did we get apple donuts?
We're going to, I think.
We're gonna get apple donuts and coffee. Good coffee.
Yay,
Yay.
it'll be good. Be big turnout, I'm sure.
It's 1:51.
So under media, kind of hearing what was in the communications policy for the board. You'd likely listen to the topics more than you would actually communicate to the media. So that those topics would include environment, affordability, and reputation. And then the ask is to just share news articles that are produced by our local. I will say we've gotten quite a few. Maybe more than last year, actually. Social media. The stakeholders you might encounter there are customers, community members, government, regulatory agencies, nonprofits, and staff. Topics are everything under the sun: environment, rates, affordability, politics, reputation. As same as communication topics, major initiatives, budgets and rates, programs, AlexRenew events, and board-related items. The ask here would be to follow AlexRenew social media, which I think all of you, most of you, if not all of you, do, and then like and share any posts. Would like, I'll have to share that. So that's the matrix. Sorry if I put you to sleep. There's a long matrix. I think we created the matrix to encourage some discussion though. So if there's
This
any,
is like the 5th version.
yeah, if there's anything that we missed or you'd like to add, or all ears.
It's great. I mean, we went through this at our prep meeting and I appreciate the update.
If you add anything, I'm gonna reread. the whole
I'm not,
matrix
no,
again.
oh my God. I have no further comments. But it's good. I mean, we've been talking about making a matrix like this for a long time now, and I think it turned out really, it turned out really good.
And this is literally in the policy.
Right. Right.
It's not as colorful.
Not as colorful,
It's a good.
very boring, monochromatic
It's
table.
But more ADA compliant.
Yes, very expensive.
it's a good handy reminder of what we need to be doing and how we have to do
Yeah,
it.
it's a good cheat sheet.
We didn't see the matrix. If you read the last line of the policy, we kind of see the matrix as a living document. You know, the board, I think the organization of the board is a lot different than it was, 2 years ago. And, without board action, we could modify this, without modifying the policy, you could take board action to amend this from time to time. So it might be something we want to revisit as we as we move forward. So we just wouldn't have to go through the entire process. So you can update the attachment, it's attached and noted as such, moving forward.
That's fine.
Very big.
Sure, the distance.
So maybe moving forward, then, if this is the path we're gonna go down, what we'll try and start doing is we'll update the board calendar to include events that we're doing as staff, like the Ookie Mad Science Fest is coming up. That's something we'll put on there for a STEM event, if the board's interested in participating.
Some of those are pretty fun.
Yeah, only invite us to the fun ones. We're not interested otherwise.
Some are more fun.
But yes,
I'll go when we build an activated carbon column.
We had a miniature version of that. Did you go over and see?
I was focused on the tours.
So are we approving these updates? It just says information on the agenda.
So the action would be to recommend it to move the policy forward to the board meeting, but I have that under number 7. No, I don't.
no, not bad.
Yeah, we took it out.
So,
So the action would be to move that. policy
are there any
forward.
comments on the policy itself?
Mr. Chairman, can I suggest two?
Sure.
By the way, again, I think this is a great policy, positive, and also in step with the times. I think the old policy was not in step with the times. Just one addition, small addition, I think. Under communication principles, I think that needs a preamble. All right, we're going to put forth, and I wrote one, and that obviously needs to be improved, but the preamble I wrote is the board of directors are public officials who guide AlexRenew and set the wastewater fees paid by our customers. Don't worry, I wrote this down. The seriousness of this responsibility requires that communication by the board adhere to the following principles. Because I know in the slide presentation, we use the word public official, and it doesn't show up in the policy. It does, but elsewhere. I think that's important. That we're setting rates, we're taking money out of people's budgets, so that should be always in the front of our mind. So that would be the preamble there. And then one other point, if I could, on the best practice and avoid, one where it says be factual, I'm going to take that one step further and say be knowledgeable of AlexRenew issues affecting the average rate. And then your hyphen, refer members to AlexRenew staff for technical questions, but the board should be knowledgeable about the most basic things. And I think we are. I think we're very lucky. We have a very knowledgeable board. This is a policy for the future.
One more time.
Be knowledgeable of AlexRenew issues affecting the general public. Just replace the be factual. Okay, I think this is great.
Thank you.
Do you have anything?
No. I like the suggestion.
Anything you'd like to add to this?
No.
We need a motion to move this to the board for review and approval.
All right, I will move to advance this to the board for vote at the next meeting.
Second?
Mr. Hill's amendments.
With Mr. Hill's amendments.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Next, admin items. You have the board retreat, February 20th through 21st. Do you have anything to say on that, or is that just a reminder?
I think just a reminder.
Yeah.
Talk about that at every board meeting.
The UMC conference, water conference is March 24th through 27th. Is anyone interested in attending that?
Usually I attend it with
Okay.
PC Water, so I believe it's somebody else who can attend it from.
Will you be out of town then?
Yes, I have work retreat, our all staff retreat is that week, so I have a conflict.
Mr. Hill?
We usually send 2 people.
Yes.
Mr.
Do you
James?
have to send 2 people?
We should going already.
You,
Mr. Jakes and I went last year.
oh, you went last year?
Yeah.
Okay, so you,
So
I
what
would
I'm
like to
saying is that why I'm gonna take a spot if I can get it with
Yeah,
DC
we-
Water.
yeah,
To get
makes
it,
sense.
people the opportunity to take the spot. Because if I need it, I can get it with DC Water.
I would like to go.
Okay.
So it's gonna be a mistake.
You're not taking the spot, I don't think.
You're not taking anybody's spot, but we can.
I'd be glad to go
if you want
to make
attend
sure we
it.
have 2, but if somebody
I have
else
it
is
in my
gonna go to
budget
get us to 2,
So do we.
that's okay.
You can wear 2 hats. I don't know how you do that.
So you guys have to send me from here, that's fine. So then I'll give my spot over there.
I'll go, and if anybody wants to join.
Good.
We are trying to, we did submit an abstract. One of the things we found beneficial, as you all know, from a month-to-month basis at the board meetings, our approach to Alberta contracting and how we've used that to shore up the plant as we make some necessary improvements, long-term. So it's a unique one, not just the procurement approach, but how it's been managed internally as well. So hopefully our abstract gets accepted.
Next, we're having the board self-assessment in October of 2026. Doing that again.
Start thinking.
Mr. Carl, anything to add on that?
No, I think if there's any feedback from what we did last time, feel free to provide some feedback, but I think we, with the questions we asked, it gave us it took us a year to get through all the action items. I think we just closed it out with Mr. Robertson's presentation. So it was very productive for governance.
The next item we've got in tab 3 is the board composition matrix. Just a review of that. And are you all asking us to complete page 5?
No, it's more of just a reminder for the board if there's any updates that need to happen. Coming out of the retreat, there may be some updates based on the board's, Clifton strengths and some further discussion around that. But just keeping this at the front of the mind as we go through succession planning, making sure we have a bench. One of the things that we did do, I'm not sure why they got to leave it. All the check boxes are gone. The next time we do this, we're gonna rank them 1 through 17.
Mhm.
So we'll reach out when we're ready to do that, but just a heads up that we added a few areas of expertise, and then as opposed to just putting an X in there, from the board's recommendation, we're gonna rank them 1 through 17.
Okay, very good.
So we'll follow up with an email at some point in the future.
Anything to add?
Nope.
The next item, tab 4 is board retreat schedule for the next 3 years. Yeah, sure.
We initially had this year's board retreat focused on succession planning. Given that it's a big year, our entire organization, all 65 operations and maintenance crew, as well as our entire lab department right now are focused on going through training for AlexRenew. So we felt it was appropriate for the entire organization to kind of understand what we're going through and what we're about to take on in the next 269 days, which is the AlexRenew program. So we thought this year we would give the board the AlexRenew preview, It coincides with the time when we're going to be getting ready to start up the system. So with the respect to the future board retreat schedule, we presented this back in April. We wanted to push succession planning out to 2027. We thought that what part of the board's self-assessment, that was one area of improvement that the board identified. So we felt that we could do a retreat on that topic in 2027. Some other areas that we discussed, and these are draft, 2028 would be resiliency strengthening. At that point, we'll be likely complete with our climate study. Cyber is an ongoing. It's a moving threat for our organization to deal with cybersecurity. So looking at climate, sustainability, cyber, supply chain issues as they come out of AlexRenew and into phase forward, and how we can strengthen the organization from a resiliency standpoint would be 2028. 2029, believe it or not, we have to revisit the strategic plan. So take another look at our mission, vision, and strategic goals. So that will be a strategic plan update. And then additional ideas looking ahead. We thought with the solids tour, and if AlexRenew preview is successful, doing an overview of phase forward projects year to year would be kind of neat. They could also take an entire day like the solids tour did, or a morning. We talked a lot about a circular water economy back at the board retreat in 2024. Talking about the circular water economy, regionalization, how we can better leverage our wastewater as a community resource. And then looking ahead would be another one, could be, environmental compliance, building on what Mr. Rock presented at the previous board meeting. Maybe it's a day of discussion with either members of DEQ, EPA, associations come in and talking about legislative priorities, where the sector's headed, things like that. These are food for thought. We usually start, for the board's understanding, we usually start planning the board retreat. We start preparation for it usually around June or July, depending on the complexity. So between now and spring, if you could give feedback, if there's anything you'd like to see on this list, let us know. Direct it through the governance committee, and if we feel like we want to move forward with succession planning and board recruitment, I think we have enough based on the feedback from the board self-assessment to kind of move the needle in that direction.
These are good options.
Yeah.
Anything good?
Nothing to add. Well, but we so far ahead.
Moving on, we have board policies. We can go through these. What I would suggest, if we don't have any major comments, Chad will do this as one motion, send them to the board for review. Ms. Waters, are you going to go through these?
So starting at tab 5 with the bylaws, you probably should just ignore the blue line, red line, because it's been extensively revised, and it now reflects what the best practices are, that your bylaws are your constitutional framework for governance, and then your details are in board approved policies. So going through some of the major changes in Article 2, officers, these reflect the officer positions that we actually have with short descriptions. The longer descriptions are in the board's roles and responsibilities policy. Term of office, there's a mistake here. The board members hold office until their successors are appointed, appear twice. And I actually want to change that to board members serve until their successors are appointed. So part of what we are trying to clean up here is who's a board officer. We move the CEO out of this. And just to make sure it's clear that you can serve consecutive terms, shouldn't refer to office to avoid confusion. So we'll delete the duplicative sentence and then make it board members serve until their successors are appointed. We put in here the vacancies. And then Article 3 is a new article that goes over the CEO, appointment status, duties, delegation, and designation. And we'll get to further tabs for the minute that go into the authorities that the board delegates to the CEO. So these are very short, and then the details are in the resolution. Article 4, meetings of the board. Now it sets forth the 3 types of meetings that we have: regular, special, electronic. It could be an electronic, special, or regular. Makes it very clear how those are called. Regular meetings are scheduled in advance, how the special meetings are called. Public access forum. Deadlock tie vote procedure is new. It's a reference in the Authorities Act that you should have a procedure for that. We have 2 people on committees, and we have 5 on the board. This has not come up that I know of in a board meeting, but you can have recusals, absences where you could potentially have a tie vote. Agenda approval was already there. It's structured. Annual meetings clearly held in July. Article 5 is board committees. Here we took out a lot of detail that was in the bylaws because those exist in the board committee. Talks a little bit about the formation, meetings, reports, what a quorum is in a committee, and then our 2 standing committees. Board compensation is a new provision that we added in. We did receive an open records request, and we felt like, let's just put this into the bylaws. It is how you're compensated. It's per city council resolution, and we attached that resolution. Indemnification of officers and members. We had an indemnification provision in the original bylaw. This is cleaned up a lot and modernized. When AlexRenew indemnifies and when it doesn't. Article 9, fiscal year, same. And implementation and amendments. Pretty much the same. The seal of the authority was way too long, so we just kept that to one simple statement. That's
Resolution.
board compensation. Oh, yeah. Yes. So, yeah, resolution of the amendment of the authority's bylaws. So, will be it resolved, this would be the recommendation that this committee or proposing to recommend to the full board for approval at the next board meeting. The bylaws as amended and attached to this resolution shall be included with the minutes of this meeting and shall be placed on.
Any comments?
Yes, and that Ms. Hammer and Mr. Hill will sign resolutions meeting forward for the secretary.
Just a question. I'm working from the blue copy, so I might be off here. On the blue copy, it still looks like the language says under Article 2, Item 2, term, no board member shall be appointed for a term longer than 4 years. That's still there?
It's still there, but we can say that you can serve consecutive terms, which you obviously can. So the 4 years is the limit. What it says now is no member shall be appointed for a term longer than 4 years. Board members serve until their successors are appointed. So basically, if you get replaced by Alexandria City Council when your term is up, then you would transition off the board. But if you're not replaced, if they vote for your continuance, then you would just continue to serve.
I agree. It could be a little more clear that board members, I think all you need to add is board members may serve consecutive terms and hold office until their successors are appointed, for example. Because if each term is maximum 4 years, but the current language makes it sound like you can only have one of those.
Yeah. I mean, I am no lawyer, but I could imagine a lawyer could interpret that in many different ways.
Yeah, and they'll accuse us of all violating the bylaws.
Oh, I violated it
Yeah,
many times.
many times.
So
we'll add board members can serve consecutive terms. Board members serve until their successors are appointed.
Yeah, that one. And I think we're going to talk about the secretary treasurer as the custodian of funds. We'll talk about that later. That is a good point.
Any other comments on the bylaws?
Board members hold office until their successors are appointed. So if something happened to them, they cannot hold the position. So what are you gonna do?
Vacancies? So that would be the next, are you talking about, yeah, vacancies are filled by the city council for the unexpired term.
Okay.
Mr. Jinks? You have something you're looking for?
No, I thought those were good comments, because I always thought until successors appointed was really, if council takes longer in deciding if somebody's gonna get reappointed or they're going to appoint somebody else. That was the real purpose of it. So I think that can serve more than 4 years. Clarified, that's really what that phrase is meant to do, although it technically can serve another purpose. I think making it clear is important.
Okay, the next item is a resolution on the official custodian.
So this is a new resolution. 6. So this is a resolution on the designation of CEO as the official custodian of the authority's funds. It goes through numerous whereases that the board has the fiduciary responsibility to safeguard properly managed funds and financial assets. That's a practical purpose that can be designated to an official custodian. And you can do that by resolution per the bylaws. And the board previously approved the resolution designating the engineer director as the official custodian of the funds of the authority. And then there's more history. And so now it would be a new resolution designating the CEO as the official custodian of the funds.
We just missed it when they changed the title.
Yeah.
In short.
Yeah, no, that placed a lot of responsibility on Ms. Hammer's shoulders.
Any comments?
Moving to the next tab 7, which is the resolution on the authority of the CEO. The very few changes here. We had to update the reference to the bylaws. This reads Article 3, and then put in, because this is the resolution, the new signatures for Ms. Hammer and Mr. Hill.
Because of the change of the bylaws, it went from policy to a resolution.
Yeah.
And then we can't help ourselves when we go back to these with editorial edits on table headings.
Yeah.
Okay,
And it references the appropriate section each one.
Yeah.
Of the bylaw. Nothing else had changed. We just worked on this a year ago.
This is good.
okay.
The next one, tab 8, is an update to a policy, the board committee policy. And here, because we do set out the overarching procedural protocols in the bylaws, Article 5, we removed the detail here. And then we kept the detail on the committee's responsibilities. It also includes agendas for standing agendas for the governance committee meetings and spring and fall meeting.
This is good streamlining.
So, Mr. Beal, we added the board composition assessment expertise matrix to the spring meeting. We said we would do this after the last, after the prep meeting.
Mhm.
So we're trying to focus governance training from Ms. Waters, the general counsel in spring,
Mhm.
talk about continuing education in the spring, and then walk through the matrix that we just kind of looked at to rank 1 through 17.
Mhm.
Have that draft ready in the spring.
Yes,
And then in the autumn, every 2 years, we'll do the board self-assessment,
Mhm.
retreat topics, and this would be the heavy policy meeting.
open policies. Yes. That's it.
If we can restrain ourselves between October meetings on policy updates.
Good plan. Any comments to this?
Like Mr. Jinks, we tried to take a cut at what the autumn and spring finance and audit committee meetings would look like.
I think to be consistent, the fall meeting, we should say draft audit. Maybe say also for the immediate prior,
Or immediate prior.
the immediate prior fiscal year. It's clear.
The last one is the board roles and responsibilities. We added a new format with a policy statement for its purpose, wordsmith, work responsibilities. Remove duplication, put it in the logical order. And then we added the duties of the board, duty of care, loyalty, and obedience. And then in the last, this would be section 4, board member and officer job descriptions. There's more detail added here. There's a reference to the bylaws and then some wordsmithing.
No, again, it's just cleaning this up to, you know, we just didn't want repetition between the bylaws and the policy, so we went through and cleaned it up as much as possible. And Ms. Waters was, you know, on the first page, a lot of those is her wordsmithing to improve some of the language as we continue to keep going through all these policies. Again, this was one we edited very early on and, you know, felt the need to give a little bit of update, but most of the language remains the same. I mean, remains the same, not really changing anything concrete. And we do have ADA compliant policies now with not gray font, so it's gonna be something that you're gonna see over the next probably year for us as we make transition, meet ADA compliance in PDF. You'll see we added policy statement, policy purpose as well, which is the big change to match all our other policies. We have a solid template now.
Emily, we're asking for the governance committee to recommend, and then the school board approval of the revised bylaws with the revisions that discussed. Approval of the resolution on official custodian, revised resolution on authority of CEO, revised committee policy with Mr. Jenkins's edits to the fall meeting for finance committee, and the revised board responsibilities policy.
I move.
I second that. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Oh, I'm not gonna repeat all of that. You got it wrong.
Do we have any other business? Mr. Hill, Mr. Jinks, Dr. Long?
That was a very efficient meeting.
It was a prep meeting.
That's right.
Right.
And we did all the hard work for you
Yeah.
guys. Yeah.
Do the hard work.
Thank you both.
Yeah.
Less than an hour.
Yeah.
Excellent work. Policies are in good shape.
We got that.
Counselor. Very, very streamlined.
It seems like it was just a couple months ago that we went through this the last time.
This one.
We did.
All of these.
Oh, yeah.
We did.
We know what you did on your summer vacation.
Now, in the spirit of recycle and reuse, Lorna, you recycle these tabs, right? So if you don't need them,
I don't.
Okay.
Do we have a motion to adjourn?
I move to adjourn.
I second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
For you guys, the board members.
I've got
we're gonna
to
have
have
a
doing it.
onboarding ceremony. It's October 20th. I'm gonna send you
All right.
invitation to anybody who can attend.
Which ceremony is this?
It's one of our town board